If you will use this handy tip to study Genesis, it will make understanding the Bible much easier. We're going to start with the sons of Adam and Eve. We're going to divide them into good son and bad son. Now, the first two kids they had were Cain and Abel. Was Cain a good son or a bad son? It was a bad son, and we're going to find out why in just a minute. Abel was the good son. Cain was jealous of his brother, so he killed him. So that takes him out of the picture. And then they had another son named Seth. In comes Seth. And the Bible tells us that Seth is the first one to pray to God. So Seth is the good line here leading up to Jesus. Cain is still, the Canaanites become evil. So evil that God has to destroy the planet with a flood. So we have a flood here. Who survives the flood? Noah and his 3 sons. Now out of Noah, he has Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Now Ham is the bad son, and the reason he's the bad son, he saw his father naked, and we don't know exactly why. The Bible doesn't tell us why, but the brothers Japheth and Shem went into the tent and covered their father up. We don't know why, but for some reason it was a sin. So Ham was cursed after that. His father cursed him. The one who gets the blessing here is Shem. Shem is the good son, bad son. Okay, so next we have in line here, and we're going to go down a few generations, okay? Abraham. And out of him comes 2 sons. First he has Ishmael. He's the bad son. Why is Ishmael the bad son? Because he was born from a concubine. Her name was Hagar. She came from Egypt, worshiped pagan gods. And when she had Ishmael, Sarah became very jealous because she couldn't have a son. So she wanted to banish Hagar and Ishmael. Well, God soon blessed her 13 years later with a son, and his name was Isaac. This is the son of promise. This is the line of Jesus, the son of promise. So if you go good son, bad son. Ishmael are known as the Arabs. They become Arabs. And in about 600 AD, after the death of Christ, they become known as the Muslims. Over here, these become known as the Israelites. And then later on become the Jews. Genesis 3:15, you see where God puts enmity between seed of Satan and the seed of her seed. Her seed is talking about Eve's seed or Israel. So anyway, enmity means deep-seated hatred. From the very beginning, there was a deep-seated hatred between Ishmael and Isaac. Today, there is still deep-seated hatred between the Muslims and the Jews. And it didn't just start here. It started up here with Cain and Abel, deep-seated hatred between brothers, brother against brother, okay? So next comes along out of Isaac. He has 2 sons. He has twins. He has Jacob and he has Esau. Esau ends up being on this side of the board. Esau, he's the bad son. He also becomes an Arab. Jacob becomes on this side through the line of Jesus, okay? They're twins. This one kind of came out first. He stuck a hand or a foot. I just stuck a foot out. They tied a string around it, and then he came back in, and then Jacob came out. So usually the firstborn gets the blessing. In this case, Jacob gets the blessing. But there's a big story behind that. You really need to read about Jacob. He was a deceiver. And he got deceived himself several times. And then he had an encounter with God coming back from the land of Haran. So anyway, out of him comes the 12 tribes. So, if you study Genesis and compare son against son, good son against bad son, And then when you get down here to the tribes, you have to ask yourself, what tribe are they from? You will understand the Bible so much better, because Judah ends up taking the inheritance from Jacob. Judah, he's the fourth son, but you have to understand, why is he the fourth son? Judah got blessed, and so did Joseph. Joseph got blessed. Now, if you go look at the blessings in chapters 48 through 50, you'll see that Joseph carries on the name of Israel, and Judah carries the people, the Jews. So that's today's tip. So if you got something out of today's lesson, let's share the gospel. Share this with someone who needs to know, someone who wants to know about the Bible, who is studying the Bible, doesn't quite understand what's going on, or just share this with a friend who you want to share Jesus with. But let's get the gospel out there. Let's share the gospel.